2nd. And yeah, we're just going to be following this portion of the bracket. After this series, we're going to have a moment to go over the challenge bracket itself. But until then, we're just diving right into it. Very little time to... very little downtime, but we love that here on the CranKy Ducklings. We want to get into our games, get into some StarCraft, and in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Malaysian Protoss representing Team Infected. It is Ranger. Shout out to Ranger, as I believe he is currently streaming his POV as we speak. So if you want to follow, or if you want to watch Ranger and his point of view, then you can do that over on his stream. And speaking of his stream, he has been very active recently. He's been streaming so much on his Twitch channel. He's been looking to improve, and he's been looking to really put in the hours as well. Ranger looking to kind of reprise his former glory and his former self. For those who don't know, it was a couple of years ago now. It was 2018, 2019, before COVID, before the COVID era of StarCraft. I want to say 2018 or no, 2019. Regardless, me and Micah, Ranger did spend some time in Korea. He went to the Team Unity team house, which is where No Regrets, Scarlet, Eric, Estrella, so many foreign players were staying in Korea, were practicing in this kind of community team house. It was really cool to see. It was a really solid initiative. It's a shame that COVID destroyed that, but it was a really really heartwarming thing where everyone was getting involved. Almost every day there were just streams being held at the house. We were getting weekly updates. We were kind of getting the day in the life in Korea from the pro gamer perspective. So it was really cool to see. They were playing a lot of running a lot of in-house tournaments as well. It was a great time in StarCraft to be had when we did have that foreigner team house going in Korea. And Ranger was a part of that for some time. He was a part of it, and he improved so much when he was there. He really did boost his skill. But after that, after competing in the DreamHack Masters, era of EPT, took a bit of a break. He took a couple of months off here after 2022, and now he is back better than ever, stronger than ever, looking to again dive headfirst back into StarCraft. And it's been really cool to see him again just taking streaming as seriously as he has been, more so than ever before, and he has been working very hard to improve. But despite all that hard effort, he's still up against Dark. He's still up against one of the best Zerg players in the world. Oh boy, and yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a tough ask. So far, standard stuff. Thankfully, Ranger is able to get into his opener. Thankfully, Dark didn't go for a pull first or a fast Roach Warren for a Roach Rush, which Dark is prone to do in this matchup. For the time being, Hatch Gas pull from our Zerg player. We have Lings on the way, but this is just to deal with these Adepts, just to make sure that he's able to clean them up and swat them away. Behind this, Ranger is going for a standard Stargate opener into those Oracles. So far we're on par, we're neck and neck. Standard stuff from both the Protoss and the Zerg player. First Oracle is going to be going across the map, looking to find some damage. The Spore's about to finish up. The Queens are in position already, and the Lings are across the map to delay and deny any kind of third base that's being taken by Ranger. Oof. A little bit of a miscontrol there. The first Oracle does go down for free. I think he got one drone, and that is it. So Ranger being a little bit overzealous, a little bit cavalier with his units. Meanwhile, Ranger is delaying his third. The third base is very delayed. We're rushing into our next phase of tech very quickly. It's going to be Twilight Council, 2 more gates behind this. This looks like 4 gate Glaive Adepts. There it is. Glaives is on the way. And the delayed third should already be a tell for Dark. We can already see, there we go, Roach Warren is on the way as a reaction to this. Dark is very aware of the Stargate into Glaive Adept. Dark has died to this build before by Hero and Classic. Classic specifically, I think, has used this build to great effect and caught Dark with his pants down. But here we are, you know, a month, almost 2 months later, and Dark has learned his lessons. His lesson, he's getting ready for this. His Link Scout does confirm 6 adepts, which is still not enough to confirm glaives, but he's just looking to make sure he's aware of what's going on. We are droning. We have the first couple of roaches on the way. Dark has the tools he needs to defend. As Ranger is going for another warp and is going to be sending all of his adepts across the map by ground. Now, the goal here, and the reason why this kind of had a surge in popularity for a while, is because it's very standard to go Stargate into Blink Stalkers or Charge Slots into a later push, a later timing. This is going to hit far faster than anything else, and it catches Zerg players off guard if they are maybe resting on their laurels, if they're just not really, or if they're just being a little bit too greedy and just on autopilot against the response to a Stargate opener. But the Lings, the Ravagers, have arrived. The boys are being pulled. I believe one drone did go down, but only a single worker, as Ranger does come into the shade. It goes into the natural, and drones are being focused down. 5 drones in total. We're going to barely, almost get a 6th. 5 drones isn't bad, but I don't know if that was quite worth it. Bearing in mind, he killed 5 workers, and that was for 12 adepts. On top of that, Ranger also lost that first Oracle as well for only 2 drones, or 1 drone even. So overall, Dark still comes out ahead in the trades. On top of that, Blink is delayed. That's the downside of this build, is that typically your glaive adepts have to do a lot of damage, or enough damage to offset the fact that Ranger, his upgrades are late and his Blink is late, which means now that the adepts have been cleaned up, he has no map control. He kind of relinquishes that to Dark. Dark has full control, can spread his creep, can even tech up. We can see Dark going for double Evo chambers and the infestation pit after the adepts got cleaned up. So very greedy stuff here out of Dark, but he knows he can get away with it. He knows that Ranger can't really stop him at this point. We do have the second and third Oracle moving out across the map, looking to find some more damage and scouts, more importantly. And they will. They will confirm the Evo chambers. They get eyes on the infestation pit as well. Ranger is fully aware of how heavily Dark is teching, and I was really curious what the infestation pit was for. We have seen a lot of Dark's ultras in ZvP. We've seen a lot of him going Ling Bane straight into Ultra Tech, straight into Hive Tech, but we're investing into +1 range. So Dark is going Ling Roach Ravager, or Ling Bane Roach Ravager, and he's even going to be incorporating Infestors as well for Fungals to lock down these Stalkers. So yeah, going for a very different unit composition that we have been seeing in the most recent weeks of Dark. Hive is on the way for Adrenal Glands. We can tech up into into an Ultra Cavern or even a Lurker Den if we want to. And I'm sure we'll maybe throw down some other tech structure, but for the time being, Ling Roach Ravager or Ling Ravager can work very well here, especially with the support of those Infestors. Here we go, we're going to be pushing this back. Biles will not be connecting on the Oracles, and shout out to Ranger, he does remake the Oracle that he lost earlier. Just recognizing how much support he needs for these Stalkers on the front lines. So we have Sage Traps being thrown down, Ranger expanding, taking a 4th base behind this. Oh, but we have the Fungal! Ooh, and we are forced to recall. The Biles will connect. 6 Stalkers do go down, and Dark is going to rotate over and keep up with the rest of this army. Ranger really not expecting that Fungal. As a couple more Stalkers are going to get picked off behind this. I don't know if you saw that, but Dark did in fact get a Hydra Den over here in the main base, and he's going into Lunkers. So no Ultras this time. It is going to be Hydra Lurker instead, which is a great unit composition for an anti-ground toss army. Meanwhile, Ranger was able to escape with a couple of his Stalkers, goes for another warp, and still has a pretty impressive Stalker count overall, up to 26 Stalkers. Still has those 3 Oracles as well above him. But Dark has so much control right now. He is maxed out. At any moment, he can be looking to surround this army. And Dark is taking up from here, and his tech is faster than that of Ranger. Ranger's going to double robo production, but this is a little bit too late. He's going to be taking towards Colossi, taking towards Disruptors. But his opponent is already maxed. See Ranger focusing down a couple of these Ravagers. The Oracles are going to be able to take down the rest of them as well, so good pickups from Ranger. Likewise, look at the wave of Lings just rushing towards the third base. Not like this. Dark backs off. He did lose a bunch of supply, but that's okay because Dark was freeing up supply to make Hydras to actually produce those lurkers. He is transitioning his army. Meanwhile, Dark going for another massive surround does force the blink, but these Lings are doing so much for themselves. Adrenal is done. Vials will be connecting as well. And as these Lings get cleaned up, we are freeing supply to more of those Hydras into lurkers, and the army does fall here to the mass Ling. We break into the third base, GG gets called, and Dark will be taking game number 1. GG. And we don't even get to see the lurkers. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. But yeah, Dark just with a really good read of the situation. If you remember, the Glaive Adept follow-up, the 4-gate Glaive follow-up just didn't really do enough damage. Killed 5 drones, which is nice, but we did invest into 12 Adepts, or even, I think, a little bit less than that, but a lot of Adepts to try and get that damage done. They all got dealt with, and yeah, Dark had so much freedom after that. And to be fair, like, it can be hard to pull that off. I think more often than not, we have seen a lot of Zerg players just not prepared for the Glaive Adept follow-up just because they're expecting to be given a lot of freedom and they're expecting to be able to drone up quite happily. But again, Dark has been done dirty before. He was ready for it. It was basically the first week of popularity of this build when it really came into form, before Zerg players had figured it out or had encountered it really before. Yeah, that is when it was the most potent. But after that, again, as the meta evolves, as players get used to each other, you know, players are now accounting for that. You know, Dark, Solar, Serral, Raynor, they're all aware that Glaives is now a potential follow-up, and they're aware to keep that in mind in the back of their heads. And with that, that is game 1 in the books, and we're looking to dive into game number 2. Catching up. Hello, Rowdy. Esther Rowdy. Welcome to the stream. I finally got my Diablo code, Papi. Oh, let's go, Papi. Let's go. We're still at the start of the game. We're still in Act 1, which is crazy. We've sunk like 12 hours into that game, and we're still in Act 1. Oh boy. We've barely scratched the surface, Papi. Barely. But here we go. We're now getting to game number 2, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have his opponents. We have the Malaysian Protoss representing Team Infected. It is Ranger. Here we go. So a cheeky build from Ranger in that last game, going from a Stargate into Glaives. But alas, that's typically something, even if it did work, we do want to transition, or we don't want to do that build again in the same series. We ideally want to mix things up here, especially as a Protoss player. And there's a lot of ways to mix it up. You know, you can go into a straight up Glaive Adept opener with the Twilight Council, you can go into DT drop, you can go into a Robo opener into a Disruptor drop, or even just a standard Stargate into Blink, or even into Charge. Like, there's a lot's available here. We'll see what Ranger does decide to go for, as Dark does go for a Hatch Gas Pool. Interesting. So a standard opener here from Dark, just making sure he is safe and sound. Go. You can speed run the campaign and then explore as you see fit. That's typically not how we approach. I don't know if you were watching our Diablo 2 playthrough, but that's not happening. We're not speed running. We're going at the speed of light, and you know what that means. That means by the time we finish the game on normal, we're gonna be at least level 80. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. It'll happen. As we do have the first adept going to be coming out here from Ranger. Again, nothing too crazy. It's probe across the map, just scouting, just forcing some lings, delaying the third base a little bit here. Ranger will be forced back. Stark is going to be taking his third. Again, not too delayed. He was forced to make lings just to swat away that probe. Otherwise, the probe would have gone for a pylon block. And Ranger is able to race it back home and keep it alive. We love to see it. Beautiful. And yeah, once again, it's going to be a Stargate opener from Ranger. So, kind of what we expected, to be honest. We'll see what the follow-up is going to be this time. Again, I would be shocked to see Glaive Adept for a second time, 2 games in a row. I don't think that would be the wisest of choices from Ranger. But we'll see what he has in store for us, because there are still a multitude of different avenues or different tech paths that you can go for after a Stargate opener. We should be seeing a third base on time, but again, from here we can go into plus on blink. We can go into we can avoid the forge entirely and go for we can go for a 7-gate all in. The robo is thrown down in the main, gets cancelled and thrown down at the natural instead. So a little bit indecisive here from Ranger, but he wanted to keep the robo follow-up a secret, as the Overlord does go in and does not scat the robo. The Lings are here nonetheless, and they're going to be wreaking havoc on this depth. Now, with the Robo follow-up, this looks like a 2-base all-in. No Twilight Council, no third base either. The Adept is under threat. It's going to be going down to these Lings, and if the Adept goes down, the Lings are going to get a full scout. Oh, we do see Ranger desperately trying to warp in, but the wall is not a wall, and the Robo was confirmed by the Lings. There we go. Prism is on the way. Void Ray as well. 2 more gates are thrown down. So this is going to be 4 gates. I imagine we're going to have at least 6 gates here for an all-in, as the Overlord does finally get focused down. There are the sentries. And this is going to be a bit of a slow lot all-in, I imagine, with Immortals behind it as well. And there are those 2 additional gateways. So it is 6 gates in total. Yeah, we'll see how Ranger can piece this together. I'm really curious if he's going to make Immortals with this or not, as he goes to the recall, but no, he's going to lose everything! Oh, the sentries go down, the Adept as well. This is a disastrous start for Ranger, as he throws down 2 more gates, so it's going to be an 8-gate all-in. But losing sentries or keeping sentries alive is so crucial to making this work. Back at home, Dark is having fun. He throws down a Hydra Den. He's going to be going Ling Hydra, which is usually a greedy thing to do to defend against a 2-base all-in. But Dark has had so much freedom. He's been able to saturate his bases, and he's been able to just keep Ranger at home for so long. There we go. It is going to be the Immortal Sentry all-in. Very Soul Train-esque. Unfortunately, it has been scouted. It has been spotted. Dark knows exactly what's happening, and he's preparing at home. Here come the Hydras, here come the Lings. Dark threatening a surround as well. Does catch one of those Zealot reinforcements. The Queens are brought to the front lines, and we'll see how good the force fields are. We'll see, like, that's the added benefits of going up against Ling Hydra, is that there are no Ravagers, so there are no there's no way to deal with those force fields. So Ranger has potential with this bush. Does have some potential. Oh, it looks like he's going to be waiting for that second Immortal. Oh boy, as we have a third Immortal on the way as well, and the Immortals, they just pack such a massive punch to this army. But if we do try to waddle across the map, then we are going to get surrounded. Ranger going to be skirting the edges of the creep, clearing up whatever he can. Stark once again getting ready for a surround. And as time goes on, this is getting better and better for Dark. His Ling Hydra army is getting so much more larger. The Immortals are moving out. They do have an escort of Adepts and Sentries, so the Immortals are going to be kept safe. I love that Ranger did keep this in mind. As he pushes on forward, we do have some force fields. We are going to be able to focus down the Lings in the end. Cute hold position micro from Dark. But here we go. This push is still looking very terrifying, very threatening here from Ranger. Especially with those force fields. That's a lot of sentries. And with no Ravagers, Dark is at the behest of the control of Ranger as he tries to push on forward. Hydra's just dishing out so much DPS to that ground army though. My god. Dark does threaten to surround. He does dip in. He's going to lose a big chunk of his Hydras, to be fair, but good trades nonetheless. The rocks are going to get taken out. Dark is getting ready for a surround. It doesn't matter how good your force fields are. Dark is coming in from behind as well. Doesn't commit yet. He's waiting for the opportune moment. I don't know if you noticed, we have a lot of sentries. We are running out of force fields. We only have, I think, 4 more force fields in the chamber. And Dark goes for a counterattack. Oh. No, now the force fields are working against Ranger. His army is stuck behind the wall. Again, these Hydras taking a great trade. Dark, he turns back around. He knows he has baited Ranger in. And now he's coming in from behind. Ugh. Good patience out of Ranger, but the Prism goes down. The Adepts, the Sentries, and the Immortals. GG, well played gets called. And Dark will take the series 2-0. GG, very well played there by Dark. Shout out to Ranger. I appreciate game 2 especially. Game 1, he was trying to be a little bit cheeky and fell behind as a result. But here in game 2, I appreciate that he was like trying to hide the build, trying to hide the robo. Did get scouted in the end, but despite the fact that he got scouted, he was very patient with his play. And yeah, he was almost able to pull it off here against Dark, especially without any Ravagers. Ranger was trading relatively well. It's just time was working against him. That's the problem. Like, as the game progressed, it was getting easier and easier for Dark to hold and harder for Ranger to pull off the all-in. So GG, well played. Congratulations to Dark as he does advance on in the tournament. My condolences to Ranger as his tournament run does end here.